Welcome to Dr. Diane's Adventures in Learning. I'm Dr. Diane, and I am going to share some of my adventures in Antarctica. My friend Cooper asked lots of questions, and they were such great ones that I'm going to break it up into a series where we answer 6-year-old Cooper's questions about Antarctica. I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of video so you can see what this amazing, glorious continent looks like.
Hard to appreciate the size and scope of Antarctica until you see it. And I recognize that we're literally seeing the tip of it. We're on the Antarctic Peninsula, and this continent extends for many, 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 many miles inland from here. It's a huge place, much of it uninhabitable, but the resources here are incredible and so important for biodiversity, for humankind, and they need to be protected.
So Antarctica is the biggest continent. It is the driest continent. It is the whitest continent in terms of the snow. It's the windiest continent. It is just one of the most magnificent places on Earth. And so we'll try to answer some of your questions today, Coop. So the first question Cooper asked is, how long was the trip to Antarctica? And so the whole trip took me 15 days. And his second question was, how did you get there? So I got there by taking a car, 3 airplanes, 2 buses, and a ship. So to start with, I had to drive to Dulles Airport near Washington, D.C. So I took a car, and from the car, I took a flight to Miami. And that was about 3-hour flight. So then from Miami, I had to get on another airplane. And that airplane took me to Buenos Aires. And that was a 9-hour flight. So think of that like traveling an entire school day. So I started in the morning, and it was dinner time when we got to Buenos Aires. So 9 hours later. Then we had to get on a bus to go from the big Buenos Aires airport to these. So there's the bus, and there are the people I was riding with. And then we had to get to the small Buenos Aires airport. And that airport was much more crowded. And eventually we got onto another plane. And that plane flew us to a place called Ushuaia. And Ushuaia is a city, and it is the southernmost city in South America. And Ushuaia means, they call it El Fin del Mundo, which means the end of the world. And you can see us landing here in Ushuaia. Now, to go to Antarctica and back, I figured out that we traveled 14,500 miles. So if you wanted to think about traveling the world, think about going all the way around the globe, like halfway around the globe. And that's how far we went to go there and back again. Now, once we were in Ushuaia, we had to take another bus. And that bus took us to the port where our ship, the Ocean Victory, was waiting to take us to Antarctica. Now, the Ocean Victory did take us to Antarctica. To get there, it took us 2 days going across something called the Drake Passage. And I want to show you a map that I made. So if you take a look at this map, I painted the different things we saw along the way. So we started up here in Ushuaia, and we sailed across the Drake Passage where we saw albatross and we saw humpback and fin whales. We wound up here in the South Shetland Islands and stopped in Half Moon Bay where we saw chinstrap and gentoo penguins. And then from there, we went down the Antarctic Peninsula, all the way down to the Aurora Islands. And the Aurora Islands were the furthest south we got. It was almost to the polar circle. And during that time, we saw seals, we saw different kinds of penguins, we saw cormorants, we saw orcas. And then when we had to come back, we had to cross the Drake Passage again as we made our way back up to Ushuaia. So on this map, it looks like it didn't take any time at all. But like I said, it took us 2 days to go across the Drake Passage. And that's showing a little bit more of Ushuaia. And that's getting ready to leave the port to start the passage. And so
here's a look at what we're leaving behind in the port of Ushuaia.
And this again will show you the difference. You can see that it doesn't look like it's a lot, but trust me when I say that it is. And something else that's really cool as we're looking at this map is to think about the Drake Passage. It's where the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Southern Ocean meet. And so they are some of the absolute roughest waters in the entire world. They're also full of krill, and they're a great attraction to whales and other animals that feed and thrive in those waters. They call it two different things. If the waters are smooth, they call it Drake Lake. And if the waters are really, really, really rough, they call it Drake Shake. We got lucky. On the way out, it was closer to Drake Lake. We definitely got a touch of Drake Shake on the way back. And so what I want to do is show you a couple of videos and let you see what that was actually like. So this is the Beagle Channel, and we're leaving South America, and you can see that the Andes Mountains are on either side of us. And then from there, we're going to go into the Drake Passage. So these are my traveling companions. That's my father, Dr. Ed Jackson, and my sister, Christy Jackson Green. And this will give you your first taste of what the Drake Passage looks like.
If you look below, you can see that the waves are starting to churn. You can see that it's definitely windy. And we're going to go take a look on deck real quick if we can get there.
So it was super windy on deck when we were going through the Drake Passage, to the point that I had to go back in because I could not keep my feet on deck that way. It was calmer the next day. Let me show you that. So here we are at the Drake Passage. I don't want to jinx it, but so far it's been a little more Drake Lake than Drake Shake. The wind is pretty powerful. The waves are about 10 feet. Still rocks the boat, but this boat has some good stabilizers. I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely been queasy, but the bird viewing is spectacular. We have seen so many gorgeous birds, and I'm gonna share them with you right now. And so we're going to talk about these in your next set of questions, but we did see albatross and petrels as we were crossing the Drake Passage. So once we got there, the weather was really, really nice. We got really lucky. I know other people who went got different weather, and the thing about Antarctica is it can change on a dime. The week I was there, it was summer there. So just remember, it's summer, it's December, and the temperatures were in the 30s and 40s. It was sunny almost the entire time. And because it was calm, we were able to get off of our ship and take Zodiac boat rides around, and also be able to set foot on the peninsula and on different islands 9 different times. So we got to really see a lot. And I wanted to share a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why Antarctica is important and interesting. So I mentioned to you that Antarctica is the highest, the driest, the coldest, the windiest, and the brightest of the 7 continents. It's almost the size of the United States and Mexico put together. So imagine putting North America minus Canada together, and that's how big Antarctica is. And it's almost completely covered by a thick layer of ice. And you can see some of that in the background there. So I wanted to show you that, and then we're going to keep going, and I want to show you some more as well. I did get a chance to try the ice. Antarctica, I said it has all that ice. It's also got 68% of the fresh water on the planet. And
nothing beats Antarctica snow.
It's so pure and so beautiful. Summer in Antarctica goes from December to March, which means that we had warmer temperatures while we were there. It was 30 to 40 degrees, and it was a lot of sunshine. Being as far south as we were, the ozone is different, and you really have to wear your sunscreen. I'm going to show you a little bit more of the things we saw, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about Antarctica. So something else I think it's important for you to know, Cooper, is that Antarctica is protected by a treaty. And what that means is that it doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us, all over the world. And so all the different countries are responsible for working together to keep it safe, to keep it clean, and to keep it protected. So Antarctica is used for science, and that's what it's supposed to be used for. We're not supposed to pollute it. We're not supposed to do things to hurt the animals. And we're supposed to share all the information that we as scientists are gathering. There aren't people who live there on a regular basis. There are scientists who come in and out of some research stations. But like if you go to Antarctica, there are rules so that tourists aren't allowed to hurt the penguins or the water. The tour operators have to be super, super careful that they're not hurting the world around them. So like if you've gone camping, do you remember when you saw the signs that say leave no trace? What does that mean? It means you're not supposed to let people know you were there. You're supposed to leave it better than you found it. That's how Antarctica is supposed to be as well. All right, I want to show you a few more things. We saw that already, but I love the penguins. I really can't get enough. All right, so because we were there in the summer, we had an awful lot of sun. So often the sun would rise at 3:30 in the morning, and I did get up to see it.
Here's something you won't see every day. Sunrise over Antarctica.
So the sun would come up at 3:30 in the morning when you should still be asleep. And then you'd have this beautiful bright sun all day long. And it would last all through the time you'd be in school. It would still be going. I'll show you a little penguin while we're talking about it. And then around dinner time, it would get this golden glow. And that golden glow would last till long after you were supposed to be in bed, like 11 o'clock at night. And you can see this golden glow. You can see some orcas swimming in it. And then around 12:30 at night, it would start to get deep orange, sort of like what you would think about seeing for sunset. And one night I got up as we were going over the Drake Passage again, and you can see it's purple, but this is well after 12 at night. It's almost 1 in the morning. And it looks like you would think it would look at, say, 7 o'clock, but you can see there is an albatross that is diving behind me in the Drake Passage. And that just gives you a sense of what that weather was like. So the light was incredible. I only saw one star the entire time I was there. And that one star came out that night that I saw the albatross in the Drake Passage. So Cooper, I have really loved answering your questions today, and we will do more of Cooper's questions as the month goes on. Thanks for joining me.